All right, we're going to give everyone a minute or two to kind of get settled in. Let's see. Hi, Sean. Good to see you.
Hello. I'm just trying to get my my SSC background up. Sorry.
All good. All right. Let's see. Okay. We're about a minute in, so I'm going to go ahead and kick things off, and just first of all, just say thank you everyone for joining. We've got a kind of virtual coffee hour. If you like tea, if you like water, pop, soda, whatever you call it. We're just glad to have everyone join us. We've got a smaller group today. We've done this kind of event before, so if you joined us before, thanks for coming back. If not, it's great to have you. Um, we're going to jump into a couple different topics today, but before we do that, and those topics were those that you registered for, before we do that, I just want to share a little bit of why we do this event, and what it's about. So this kind of virtual coffee hour, it's great to see people face to face. That first and foremost, it's great to see. I saw Sean and his best. I'm loving it. It looks great. But it's also a great opportunity just for networking and community. So getting to know each other and really tackle or address or talk about problem solve challenges or new changes, and just kind of, yeah, come together and think of some ideas. So we've got a few topics today, including we're going to talk about, managing a multi-generational workforce. That seemed to be a hot topic when everyone was registering. Talking a little bit about mental health and the impact of that as well. And then jumping into the world of tech and innovation. So we really want this to be a collaborative event as much as possible. Probably won't use the whole hour, short and sweet, but really we want everyone here to get as much value out of the conversation as possible. So with that, if everyone is comfortable with being on camera or unmuting, that kind of helps with the discussion and the flow. And that way you're not hearing from me the whole time. But I just want to open it up. I mentioned those three topics: multi-generational workforce, mental health, tech, and innovation. Does anyone have kind of a preference on where we start today's conversation? Just gonna open it up.
Yeah. I think just start from the top, I guess, for me here. For me, it's kind of my first time in.
Yeah.
I'm relatively new to safety, but not new to construction. So it's been exciting for me to learn from all of the mentors and all of the other people in the industry. So I'm here to listen along and take notes and hopefully learn some stuff.
Great. Love that. And really glad to have you join us, Sean. Um, if you don't mind sharing, so if we're going to start with talking about multi-generational workforce and managing that, have you or anyone, experienced any challenges with managing a multi-generational workforce, or any initial kind of thoughts or questions around that?
Not really for too much that I've experienced yet. We're kind of just getting started on the project, but we definitely have some different generations that are working together so far on
Yeah.
our site. And I've noticed that we've had some older generations mixed directly with the younger generational crew. And so far it definitely seems to be adding. Also in multi-languages that's kind of going on site here. I find that the younger population of the crew definitely is able to help with translation and stuff a lot more. And it, from what I've been seeing so far, it's beneficial as the elder workforce with the more experience is able to work with the younger force, and the younger force is able to help with the translations, and the older force is able to help with lending the experience. It's really becoming a really good team building adventure over here with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And is there anything that you've done within the culture of your company that has really allowed to create that cohesiveness towards the groups? Because I think I've heard it on both sides. You have multi-generational that there's just a lot of conflict, or some people, we want to do it the old way, others are, hey, give me all the technology. And then you have others that are similar to your situation where it's like they get along really well and they're really working from each other. So what about your culture do you think kind of lends to what you're seeing?
Honestly, I think we've got so far when we've just started. So I'm just starting kind of, this is our first week active on the site. So it's just kind of starting for us. I'll definitely get to learn more and have more information as we go as through those stats. But I would say we're getting some real cohesion with that. And it would be, I think the teams work well together and they have worked on other projects together. It's their first time with me. So it's my first time getting the chance to really see how they're working together. But what I have done and what we have done on site here is just including everybody all together. And I think we're not getting a lot of pushback from our older generations, which is helpful in the fact that the new generations are able to really cohesively work with them together, and it started off really well here. So
That's really great. And it sounds like as you're integrating yourself into the mix as well, I mean, kudos for joining something like this to really be able to get in there and know how best to support that type of environment.
Yeah, that's what I really want to learn. Yeah, I really want to help and learn and be really good, because the more I know and the more I can pass on, the more experience I've gone through, the more I can help. And that goes to the multi-generational as well. I mean, I'm 35, so I'm kind of in the middle. I can understand the younger workers. I remember what it was like being a younger worker as well. And then I feel like I've got enough years now into it that I'm getting the respect also from the older generation as well. Yeah.
That's really
And
great.
maybe I think that kind of combination is what's really building our team here. I think everyone kind of sees that. They have all worked together before as well, so that has helped. But as we progress with our project, we will be getting new people on site and new trades and stuff. So it's I'll be able to take what I'm learning from this group already and hopefully help educate and help further the project as we go. So everything's looking, I'm liking it so far, but I'm definitely new still myself. So I'm eager to join these types of coffee hours just to kind of learn from maybe someone who's been in the industry for longer, right? So
Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Sean. And it's interesting because the discussion around multi-generational, managing multi-generational workforces actually came from our last coffee hour. It wasn't even a topic, and then we just ended up going that direction, like technology and
yep.
policies, and I got to do this training, and so
The young guys understand. They're better with signing their name 4 times in the run of a day to a sign-in sheet and a note, whereas the older generation generally, and I use this as a total general term, is that they want to get to work, and back in the day it was time is money, right? And get going. So I think the fact that we have quite a mixed age group, that's really working together actually, because the younger generation is able to, I kind of say like, well, this is kind of how we do it now, and I'm not getting any pushback as of yet from the older generation. So it's actually they're more flowing with it, and going, okay, cool, okay, well, let's do this and let's do that, right? And fill out all of our paperwork, right? Because generally that's where you get a little bit of the head back from there, right? So but so far pretty good.
that's awesome.
Only a week into our project though.
So far so good. No, but Sean, for those of you that just joined, because I saw a couple more people join in, we're touching on, first topic is really managing a multi-generational workforce. And Sean was sharing a little bit of his experience the team having multiple generations, and it seems like things are flowing and collaborative and inclusive.
Yeah.
I would be curious if anyone else has any thoughts or experiences on managing a multi-generational workforce, and if any challenges have come up for you that you'd be willing to share. Give it a few seconds. And if anyone's talking, you're probably on mute and I can't hear you. But all right. Okay. I won't pick on anyone yet. I'll let that simmer for a little bit longer. I'm curious, Sean, I know you're a weekend here, but uh any differences in technology when it comes to the generations that you're planning to approach them in a different way, or kind of help implement, so it continues to be inclusive despite the technology?
Yeah. So we haven't really moved on to we're still doing a lot of paperwork copy. The
Okay.
technical side is more on my side for filing away right now. But I know, and I have worked in the past in my construction experience with tablets and hazard assessments, JHAs on the tablets. I always did find that was actually a very good system. I know we used to use Sage for filing away our old company's hazard assessments for the field guys. I did find, and I think I like the technology as in it instantly records and it keeps record, as well as kind of like gathers it together in one central place so everyone can access it, which is a big benefit. Um, we get to the multi-generational. I do find that the older generation doesn't adapt to it as quickly. Whereas the younger generations used to having their cell phone in their hand anyway. So they're, so there's that. But I think that the technology going forward, especially on the safety side, is great. It's nice to see what's coming forward, different systems for filing and sharing the information. It really just leads to everyone being able to see it and easily access it, and then it can be in everyone's minds. Again, you get to the generational differences, right? But I think a lot of the new technologies are pretty good. We don't have the tablets and that set up for our site yet, but I do like it, as well as the fact that it reduces paperwork on the trees, reduces recycling, environmental impact,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned a couple different ways you're using technology across the board. And Adrian put in the chat, in case everyone doesn't see that, but Adrian said, I have a lot of pushback from older workers as they are used to their old ways and not liking to have to do this. And that now that Adrian's on board, currently using got safety video trainings with an electronic sign in, sort of lower end of what JJ Keller offers as far as safety trainings go. Adrian, if you're able to unmute, I would love to hear a little bit of what your strategy or approach is to trying to minimize the pushback from the various generations. Oh, I don't think we can hear you. At least I can't. Anyone else?
No, he's can't hear you.
Yeah. So maybe the little mute button on the bottom left. I had a trouble finding it at first.
Or it could be a speaker setup, because it doesn't say he's mute, but
Oh,
The
okay.
caret next to audio sometimes allows you to change your microphone. Mine loves to switch back and forth between two.
oh yeah, the carrot next to audio. Still not.
Still not.
No.
Well, we get to the technology here.
Yeah, I know, right?
So we run into some problems with technology, right?
Yes.
As much as it can be an easy form of communication, sometimes it can be more difficult for especially the older generation. They get frustrated and they don't want to do it.
Yeah, technology is not all that in a bag of chips sometimes. That's what I like to say. We'll give Adrian a second to kind of see if he can figure out the audio part, because that is, I know Zoom doesn't like me. It doesn't like my laptop. So you're not alone, Adrian. I'll say that. All right. We had a couple other individuals join. So anyone have thoughts on navigating? Again, Adrian put some thoughts in the chat. Does anyone have any techniques, or are other individuals experiencing the same kind of pushback when it comes to implementing new technology?
It's kind of all across the board with us.
Okay.
We, in our environment, we use GPS coordinates to navigate to different locations because we work in the oil field.
Uh-huh.
And some of the older personnel latch right onto it. Others are just like, no, bring back the maps. And I'm like, well, the problem is the maps are constantly changing. More wells are being drilled. Companies buy new locations. Like I said, it's ever changing out here in West Texas.
Yeah.
So coordinates work better for us because I can just literally pull up a location, give them the coordinates, and they're like, okay, go to this location. But you've got a lot of guys who want to still hang on to the old way of doing things and saying, well, I want you to draw me a map. And I'm like, well, I can kind of look at overhead stuff and maybe try to figure out how to make one for you, but what's on the overhead map may not actually be what's there now, because a road may have been closed, or, so it's going out there and actually being out in the field all the time, whereas I'm no longer out in the field. Most of the time I'm here in my office managing the company.
Right.
It's like you're trying to pull some people along, whereas others, and it's across the board, even some of the younger people have issues with that. So it's not just the older workers. It can sometimes be the younger ones that just aren't very literate technologically. So that's what I've experienced here.
It's a great call out, Chris, because I think that it's so true. And especially depending on the industry that you're in, there are some industries that are just less tech focused than others. Even the machinery that you're using is, 20 years old and has only seen slight updates. So I know, Adrian, you had kind of mentioned a got safety video training that you use. And I know there's a lot of different options out there in regards to video training, document housing, being able to check in, check out. And I think that goes a little bit, Chris, to what you were talking about, like geo and mapping and all of this other stuff. So what are, what are your current safety plans on? Is it primarily paper? Or do you have a mix of paper and technology? And if you are using any technology, what technology services are you currently using?
I'm sorry, I totally missed that. Were you asking me?
You, Sean, anyone who wants to jump in here, but yeah, I think that you had mentioned that you had some challenges from the tech side. So just curious what you're looking at.
There's an application that I use a lot. It's called Well Site Navigator. That works really well and has a library of all the different wells, some SWDs all across the United States. But we're mainly work here in Texas and New Mexico because of where we're at. But there's also other companies that put out. Petropath is another one that does the same type of thing. The equipment, we've got GPS tracking equipment on our vehicles, which has helped. Sometimes I'll have a guy call and say, hey, I think I'm close to the location, but I'm not there. And I can, as long as GPS is working, I look over his truck on my screen and say, oh, you need to go left and to the next road and take a right, and it's the second location on the right. But you know, it's surprising. The oil field's kind of both very tech forward and somewhat tech backwards. It's really a contradiction. You know, there are some areas that we're really pushing new boundaries, and there's other areas where we're not so much.
Yeah.
And now in your specific role, Chris, what, I guess, how are you able, depending on what you do, able to look at data and analytics and really being able to drive like sustainability and scalability within your company? Are you finding limitations because of a lack of tech, or do you have a system in place on your side that you're really just maintaining?
Well, if you're asking how many bolts we're using in a month or something along those lines, we're a pretty small company. You know, a lot of times our purchases and stuff like that are for a specific job. We're not going out, because I mean, we've got right around 20, a little over 20 people. So we're not, I'm one of the partners, but I'm also the operations manager. So, you know, my main focus is, what is the work? How can we get more work? How can I get these guys and girls, because we have some ladies that work for us too, to get the work done. You know, how to keep the equipment running. So sustainability for me is, how do I keep my equipment from breaking down and continue to go down the road? Because without that equipment, we can't do the work. Which means we can't take care of our customers, which also means we don't make money. And, you know, if that doesn't happen, we shut the doors. I mean, in the long run, I'm not being dramatic, but I'm just saying that's where my focus is. There are other people within our company who focus more on the number crunching. Like I said, my job is mainly keep things going in the right direction, make sure we have people to do the work, make sure the people have the right equipment to do said work.
Definitely. So I kind of have a follow-up question. I'll open this up to everyone as we are talking more, you know, less about multi-generational workforce and more just tech and technology advancements, innovation. And I'd be curious if you want to share kind of what sector you're in, or what your title is, that might help others connect with you as well after today's discussion. But I'm curious on, what does it look like training your team on technological advancements, new tech, new solutions. I know Adrian mentioned the Got Safety video trainings. Anyone else using video training, on hands-on training? Just kind of curious, and I'll open it up for everyone. Oh, and Adrian, I still can't hear you. I don't. Did you have any luck with the next to audio, that caret that's pointing up and selecting a mic? Oh, look there. I feel like it's going to happen any second now. Oh, okay. While Adrian's giving that a share.
We got
Okay,
something.
we heard something. Okay, we can't hear you now, but we heard you for a second. The audio and then the caret pointing up. And you can also dial in too. The instructions should have also, if you want to dial in and try that as well. All right. While Adrian's trying to troubleshoot, anyone on the call have thoughts on what's been working or what hasn't worked training wise? I'm just curious on that, especially with technology in the way we're advancing just in general, AI and that touching every industry, every space as well.
I think, well, I'll just share like for our side, we mostly stick with paper for training for hazard assessments. We're still kind of old school on the workforce side of that. Right now, we're finding it easiest that the workers know their paper hazard assessments. So for them to fill out the old way on paper. But the technology is needed once it gets to the office and the administrative side. So we use Google Share Drives, and I use a Clear Scanner app to scan in documents. And then that way it can be uploaded to a shared drive, which we share with the multiple general contractors that we have on site, which kind of just, it's an easy access point to keep everyone in the project managers and the different safeties that we have on site. Just allows us to really keep on track with each other so that we all know what's been done daily. And it's an easy access point for us. The transition there from the paperwork to me filing it away, the technical side of it. As technology advances, I think it's the future. I mean, 20 years from now, you might not see a guy write down a hazard assessment on a piece of paper. With the way everybody has their phones and technology beside them. Apps are coming along where you can do it digitally. Does that replace me from filing? Maybe it allows me to then focus more on watching and observation. But for us, shared drive and scanner apps that we use really helps with just keeping cohesion between the different companies that are on site here as well. Once you get, we're doing a large demo site in Calgary, Alberta here. And so we've just started. So there's going to be eventually, once we get cranes in and the other trades, we have multiple GCs working on the same job site right now. So it really helps us work together. And it's built a good, the technology side has helped build a good team on the upper administration part of it. So it's helping keeping us organized for sure. But then again, with the paperwork side of it, we didn't want to flood the guys yet with things like tablets and whatnot. There's also the concern of with guys carrying tablets and phones on them, do they get broken? The cost of them getting smashed in the field versus them just having a paper book and maybe more office staff being responsible for that technology side and filing it away digitally. But you can definitely see the benefit. We're seeing the benefit of being able to just share everything amongst all of the companies from one single shared drive.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean, you touched on a few different things there. Organization, alignment, reducing maybe documentation timing so you can focus more on observation. And then you mentioned a couple challenges too with technology. So I appreciate kind of sharing your guys' experience and where you're at and potentially where you're going, right? Or the things that you're considering. I'm curious if anyone else, anything that Sean said that really resonated, or maybe you have different thoughts on how you're using technology. I know we've got Marty and Katie and Thomas. If you guys have any thoughts, Thomas, I see you're driving, so all good if you're just listening. But or Chris and Adrian, if you want to put it in the chat, if you have thoughts. On some of the technological advances, challenges, benefits. And even Sean mentioned apps. Are there any apps or solutions that you guys are using today? I think it would be great to share with everyone.
I think also so onto that,
Yeah.
with the apps that you are using, what also is an area where you're just either inundated or overwhelmed with the amount of paperwork that needs to be kept, like records that need to be kept, safety meetings, spot walks, incident reports. Like, what are areas that you could really benefit from digitizing and streamlining? And what would that streamlining need to look like for your organization? I'm not sure if anyone's talking. We cannot hear you. We're having a little bit
Don't
of
all speak at once.
troubles. Adrian wants to talk to us, but
I know. Oh, okay. Adrian put in the chat here, Adrian, I got your message. I like to use the video training because it comes in both English and Spanish. So they don't hear you all the time and then become bored of you always giving safety lectures. And then it looks like you brought in safety lunches to the department that wears their PPE and has a good safety track record. Awesome. So some motivation there as well. That's great. Right.
I think another thing that will be a system, I guess we're going to be adding is best behavior observations, where crews are going to be allowed to vote for another worker, to put in names for monthly awards, safety awards, just for guys to be able to kind of show that they're doing well and kind of we'll bring up good behavior, right? And good actions. So one of our things is to be keeping records of that as well. And that's going to be a program we're going to be putting in kind of as well there.
Yeah. I think that's great, Sean. And one of the final topics that we had today was on mental health, and navigating that, supporting, your workforce and making them feel included and like they belong and so on. So I love what you shared of kind of
instead of the supervisors and the foremans and the safety nominating people for doing good, we're trying to include everyone, so that they vote for who they want, who they think is done well. And then it's kind of it just brings it to light for everybody else, right? Rewarding good behavior, and achievements.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's something you're gonna implement. You shared, right? That's kind of
we're working. It's we've just started this week, so hasn't been enough time for the award yet. But that is something that's coming for our site. So it's just the mental, like you said, it's to really keep everybody together, right? To really strengthen that mental companionship, I guess, within the crews. You know what I mean? Within the workers.
Right. Absolutely.
Sounds like you've done a lot in a week. So
yeah.
Working on it, trying my best. I come from years of labor work, so this is it's kind of the first official job for me on the safety side, and so I'm trying to bring some of the new ideas from the labor crews into practice, right? And things that maybe I thought of years ago. I wish a safety had done this, or I wish the supervisor was more involved here. So I'm just trying to be that before the guys are right, and then that I think is what's really helping build that difference between the gap in ages and everybody just working together. Really, is we started this project off together as a team, as a big group, and just kind of that understanding. And like we talked about, how the older crews can really give it experience to the younger crews, and the younger crews can teach the technology side, and the importance of the policy sides to the older crews, and it's worked well so far. So that's kind of where we're at on our side.
Yeah, taking the lessons you've learned from being on the other side of things and applying that. It's like a mixture of golden and platinum rules, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to be treated, but also how do they want to be treated? And I think that that is very important. And I think that having that kind of mindset, it's a very open mindset. And I think that having that kind of mindset that's open and is progressive when it comes to like where we're headed, right? Because when it comes to multi-generational, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to technologies, we're all headed there. We can't stop the train, right? Some trains are moving a little slower than others, but we can't stop the train. We know we're going there. So I really love to hear all of those different discussion points and just kind of where your head's at. And hopefully everyone on this call can kind of take something from that also.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Thomas, how are you?
Okay, I had to pull over and park before I wanted to communicate.
That's fair.
So just listening to the communications and the conversation, one of the challenges you have with electronic items that they're going to just fill it out is, do they really think about it? Are they thinking about all the things that's going to get them into trouble? We know that one of the best ways to keep folks safe is to get that buy-in that says, if I say something, they're going to hear me. They listen to me. And that's a promotion that we have to fill in the gaps as management. Otherwise, all they're doing is filling out a form and they'll check the box and that'll be it. Have a nice day, right? So I teach suspended access, swing stage, and I teach elevators, introduction to elevators, construction elevators, construction hoists. And so we've had the opportunity to see both sides when they're just filling out a form or when they're actually doing a hazard assessment. Every job is different. Every day is different. Every minute can be different. What's happening? What's going on around me? Is there more to the picture? And how often do I need to take that extra look? So we want to keep that in mind as we go through the checklists, as we look at technology. It can't answer all the questions if it doesn't know what the questions are. And with that, I'll stop talking.
No, it's good points. Good points. Yeah, absolutely.
Really excellent points. And it sounds like the technology really needs to be able to get down to the part of it is that safety is being done, because it's really easy to develop a system where you can check boxes, but checking boxes in safety isn't what actually keeps people safe, right? And so it really excellent point is technology asking the people the right questions? Is it capturing the right information? Is there enough validation that you can confirm that what they say they've done, they've actually done? So really great insight into what technology would need to look like in order to fit into some of these workspaces. I love that.
Absolutely. And I'd add to that, it's still getting down to the why, whether it's paper, tablet, whatever else. Why are they, filling out that form, that documentation, signing here, signing there? Yeah, I think that's a really fantastic point, Thomas. Thank you for sharing and for pulling over to share. Really appreciate that.
One of the companies I work with is a very large company. They're international, they're worldwide. It's all construction, many facets of construction, and they have very much gone the way of electronic. You can pull out your phone, you can pull out a tablet, you can fill in the dots. But consider what the experience level is of that person who's filling out the dot. Does he really have the experience to know what is and what should be? What are those safety issues that are going to be happening all around him daily? And I'll give you an example. You're on a construction site, you're on an elevator, you could be on just working around the ground, and they're going to fly concrete over top of you. What box is it that puts that in short of the knowledge? And what we say, or what we consider, is that our supervisors should be in that morning meeting with all the other supervisors, all the other trades, and understanding what they're all doing that might affect our day. And so as a box, it could be, did you attend the meeting? Was there important information there? One thing's for sure, if you don't give that consideration, at some point during the day, everything's going to change. And you need to be aware that it's going to change and be ready for it. Whether that's to work on another side in the project, whether it's to work at a different project. I mean, you just have to know, be prepared. And I'll leave you be.
No, I like that. And I kind of want to add to that too, with them just, you know, pulling out their cell phone and putting a mark in the box. You know, are they actually as a group together doing that? Is someone just the one person, oh, I got the hazard assessment, he pulls out his phone, plugs in the boxes exactly like you're saying, with no real thought to it because he's just ticking boxes off. Whereas with us still sticking with the paper copy hazard assessments, it really does bring the group together. They all have to be they all stand around it. And then they fill their names out and the hazards, and they have a chance to communicate with each other about what somebody has seen or what somebody knows is going to be happening. And just kind of, we're finding more teamwork from that, where I think he's right on saying that. You have pros and cons to technology, and just being able to, a worker just being able to pull out his phone and tick off the boxes, you know, maybe that doesn't get shared with the other workers that are around him as much as it probably should be, you know. So
When you're
at that point,
when your folks are filling out paper, is it a different person each time or the same person?
it's a different person. It's the whole group. It's the group that's together. So we have, because we have some Spanish and some English, and we have some that don't have a bit of a language barrier there. We have an equal number of both, and so generally the one filling it out is one of the English speaking employees, but that also translates, and they do it together. They're all, if they're English, they speak English and Spanish. We do have some Spanish workers that don't speak English as well, but they do understand. But then that way, everyone's able to really work together.
Well, we certainly have different languages, many languages in our company, and even down to different word meanings. If you're new to a trade, what are the meanings? What are the experiences? So I hear you about the English, Spanish.
Yep.
In fact, we just translated some of our documentation provided by manufacturers and government into Spanish, so folks can write tests. It's a growing world, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Really great points there, and especially something that I think we could probably spend a whole nother coffee hour on technology alone, instead of it just being a portion of it. And Sean, I loved how you touched on the, you know, is technology taking us from a we, you know, approach to a he or she, right? And it's more individualized safety instead of we're on this site together, or on this project together, and we're looking out for each other's safety as well. Yeah. All right. Any other, real quick, I want to share, Adrian, you did message and say, going back to Sean, kind of bringing up employee recognition. Adrian's done that, and it definitely works. Employees not nominating each other also helps getting them more involved. So that engagement and that involvement. I wanted to make sure I didn't skip over that, but shared it with the group here. Any final questions or thoughts before we kind of wrap up? All right. Really great conversation. Thank you all for joining us. I know this is kind of a not so traditional virtual event. It's different. We would like to do more of them. If you find them interesting, we'll have a little survey once I press this red X and close it up for everyone. Would love feedback, topics that you would like discussed. We also have a lot of safety leaders and experts that we could bring on as well that have years and years of experience just to kind of engage in the conversation as well, if that would be of interest. So if you guys could just take a minute, do that little survey, would really appreciate it, and just appreciate your time as well. And Thomas, I hope you get wherever you're going safely, and everyone else has the best Thursday of the week, I'll say. And we'll take it from there. All right. Bye,
Sounds
everyone.
good. Thank you very much. This has been great.
Thank you
Hi,
all.
Liv, it's Marty.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was just wondering if you have any documentation for this particular session that you can provide us with.
Yeah, good question. So we do have the recording, and then actually technology is pretty cool. There will be some AI notes compiled. They won't be as exact to the conversation because technology is still technology, but we'll definitely share those out with you all as well via email.
Okay, and I want to thank Thomas for bringing up those points because they were valid. Very, very valid. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah. Great. Thank you all again. And like I said, this little survey will pop up if you have a minute or two, and we will share the recording and the notes with you all shortly as well.
Correct.
All right.
Thank you
Bye,
very
everyone.
much.